and watchmen from the surrounding warehouses came running, while from all around men called out, "What passes?" and "Who goes there?" and a growing shout, "Fire! Fire!" A man in the black and gold of Bas-Tyra snatched a lantern from one of the watchmen and marched toward the end of the dock, giving Jimmy an idea of whom to attack. The soldier grinned at the sight of the thin, ragged boy before him.
"Brought me a new sword, have you?" he said. "Looks like a good one, too. Too good for gutter scum whose whiskers haven't yet seen a razor. My thanks."
He swung a backhand at Jimmy, a lazy stroke with more strength than style. No doubt he imagined that he could easily smash the rapier from the young thief's hand and then hack him down. The finely made blade was alive in Jimmy's hand, heavy but perfectly balanced, limber as a striking snake. It flashed up almost of itself and turned the clumsy stroke away with a long scring of metal on metal. The guardsman grunted in astonishment as the redirected force of his own stroke spun him around, then shouted in pain as Jimmy danced nimbly aside and slashed at him. More by luck than skill, the sharp steel caught the guardsman on the wrist, parting the tough leather of his gauntlet and cutting a shallow groove in the flesh beneath. With a gasp, the man shook his wrist and took a step back, disbelief visible on his coarse features even in the darkness. Jimmy laughed in delighted surprise. Clearly not everyone had Arutha's skill with the blade. The hours he'd spent training with the prince, while waiting for Trevor Hull's smugglers to find a ship for Arutha and that old pirate, Amos Trask, to steal for their escape, had paid off. Jimmy felt as if the soldier moved at half Prince Arutha's speed. He laughed again. That laugh galvanized the soldier into action, and he struck out at the young thief with blow after powerful blow. Like a peasant threshing grain, Jimmy thought. He had little experience of matters rural, but a deep contempt for rubes. The blows were hard and fast, but each was a copy of the one before. Instinct led him to raise the rapier, and the cuts flowed off steel blade in intricate swept guard. He had to put his left palm on his right wrist more than once, lest sheer force knock the weapon out of his hand. But he knew he was moments away from dodging to his left, thrusting hard, and taking the soldier in the stomach. Arutha had always cautioned patience in judging an opponent. An instant later, Jimmy's back met the side of a bale. Glancing to either side, he realized he'd been neatly trapped in a short, dead-end passage of piled cargo. The man before him grinned and made teasing thrusts with his sword.
"Caught like the little sewer rat you are," he growled.
The man raised his sword, and Jimmy readied himself to execute his move, confident he would be through with the soldier in another moment. Then, suddenly, a pair of grappling bodies hurtled by, each man with a hand on the wrist of the other's knife hand, stamping and cursing as they whirled in a circle like a fast and deadly country dance. They tumbled into the Bas-Tyran man-at-arms, throwing him forward with a cry of surprise. Jimmy didn't hesitate. He felt a mild instant of regret that he couldn't execute his fancy passing thrust, but he couldn't ignore such an easily acquired target. Jimmy stabbed out, and felt the needlepoint of the rapier sink through muscle and jar on bone, the strange sensation flowing up through the steel and hilt to shiver in his shoulder and lower back. The man dropped his lantern with a cry that turned into a screamed curse as the glass shattered. The splattered oil blazed high, driving the wounded soldier back. He dropped his weapon and began to beat at spots of flame on his clothes, while Jimmy climbed the pile of bales like a monkey.
"You should know better than to corner a rat,"
he called over his shoulder as he bounded down the back of the pile and struck the ground running. He heard someone whistle the code to withdraw, and saw mockers streaming into alleys and side streets like wisps of fog scattering before a high wind. Jimmy raced to join them, but before he ducked into an alley, he turned to look out into the bay. Trevor Hull and his smugglers were diving into the water, some swimming under the docks, while others made for longboats standing by in the water. Beyond them, Jimmy could make out the form of the sea swift, turning towards the broken blockade line, canvas fluttering free.